Welcome, honey. You
Hi,
want to
Rachael.
say hi?
Sure.
Welcome to our house. Here's me, John, and
Hey.
Hey.
and listen. Thank you for sending on Walking with Sam. This is my galley. It is completely dog-eared. I cried and I read through it in a day and a half. Can you give everybody your description of what this journey is? And you really feel that this is a journey as the reader.
Sure. I mean, the Camino de Santiago is an ancient pilgrimage route through the north of Spain for about 500 miles across the north of Spain. And I did it 25 years ago. I stumbled on it and I walked it 25 years ago, and it changed my life in a lot of ways. It made me just realize all my patterns of thinking, how fearful I was in the world. Anyway, it was a big, huge experience. And I've always talked about it to my family for all these years. And my son was 19 when we went last year. And, you know, I've always been bragging about it, saying, you got to do the Camino. And so I said, hey, you want to do the Camino? And he actually just said, yeah, I'll go. And so at the instant, I literally walked into the other room, bought us 2 plane tickets, and 3 days later, we were walking Spain, because I knew if he had time to think about it, he would change his mind. And one of the things was, you know, I had very little or no relationship really with my dad when I was an adult. And it's one of those great regrets of my life. And I thought, as my son and all my kids, as they're growing, he's becoming a man, and I just didn't want that to happen. I didn't want him to slip away the way I slipped away from my dad. Mm-hmm. And I wanted us to sort of rewrite our relationship in a certain way as adults, as opposed to me being the parent telling the kid what to do all the time, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it was largely about that, really. It's about transitioning our relationship from being one of an adult child to sort of 2 men together and getting to know each other on that level. And it was, no, I'm going to cry. It was very...
No, I'm going to cry too, because one of the things that made me choke up the most in the whole book was it was so simple. It was when he had a moment and he looked over at you and he said to you, I can't say that this is fun, but I'm so happy that I'm doing this and that I get to know you. And I just was hysterical for like 20 minutes.
So speaking of getting to know him and him know you, like, did you discover anything about each other that you hadn't known before?
Of course, of course.
Of course, yeah. I'd say maybe one of the biggest things was that I realized you definitely need to get into the bathroom, into the shower before he does. And I think one of the things Sam learned about me was how incredibly impatient I really am. He thought it was bad, but now he knows how bad it is. Because trying to get him out of bed in the morning to start walking, try and get a teenager out of bed in the morning at 7 in the morning at any time. But we had some major fights. But once we were out of bed, we were fine, mostly.
Can we just talk about, you guys are walking 400 or 500 miles. You didn't do that in flip-flops the whole time, did you?
No, that picture was actually taken by a passing stranger. We had just finished the walk. We had just arrived in Santiago, and we just collapsed. And we were there, and we took off our boots. Well, we didn't really. We took off our walking shoes and put on flip-flops. And this guy was just walking past, and he said, "Can I take your picture?" We were like, "Yeah, go ahead." That was the picture, because I guess there was something in our look that just made him realize there's more to this story, you know.
So do you have another adventure coming up?
Yeah, I'm. As you know, Rachel, in my other life, I'm a travel writer, and I'm going to write a travel story. I'm going down to Botswana in Africa, and I'm actually taking my young 9-year-old son with me because he wants to see some elephants. So we're going to go do that.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is where we honeymooned.
We honeymooned
all over Africa and South Africa.
Not Botswana, but Southern Africa and Zambia, and we saw.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
It changes your life. It's so spiritual.
It does change your life. It
gives you perspective.
Exactly.
Like there's something else going on. Like, I'm a pretty cynical guy. Tough New Yorker, but that really made me think, wow, something higher happening here to make all this perfection happen.